right, Dan. So last Thursday, when the Bears started introducing free agents, it was the first day of the NCAA tournament, right? And my bracket was already in the trash, and the Bears were still introducing free agents, if that tells you what I know about basketball. So I'm so glad to be talking football with you. He's Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune. I'm Dionne Miller from ABC7. Wow, the Bears look a lot better. It's another get to know you kind of roster moment, but we have to feel better about the position they're in right now.
You said a lot. I'll challenge you on that a little bit. First of all, welcome back from California. I would say welcome back from the warmth and sun in California, but these days I don't know if it's warm or sunny anywhere. It wasn't? No sun or warmth?
A little sun, but not a lot of warmth. Like 40s in the morning. So
you got 2 Northwestern games and a victory, and then a loss to UCLA. So that had to be a fun little excursion.
I got to watch Princeton play. That was really what excited me.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Everyone's bracket is Tigers now.
Everyone's bracket is ruined, Dionne. Don't worry about that. I will say that my daughter, Abby, 4 years old, only filled out one region, and she picked Fairleigh Dickinson over Purdue in the first round. And we were sitting at the table thinking, like, we should probably talk her out of this. Good thing we didn't, right?
No, genius.
She's all over it.
Child genius.
So she might be the genius. All right. Back to the Bears. You mentioned them being a lot better. They're better. But they're a last-place team climbing a very steep mountain to try to get back to championship contention. And so when we look at the 9 signings and the 1 trade acquisition they've had, the lens that I try to kind of use on this is, who are these newcomers replacing? Right? New is different. New isn't always a massive upgrade. And so when you go through it, 6 guys on offense, 4 on defense, you feel like, okay, you're making strides in the right direction. But Ryan Poles has always kind of been of this mindset that this is going to be a draft and develop process. And so look, I've been giving myself pep talks in the mirror, Stuart Smalley style, recently on like, don't be hypocritical. Don't say they can't solve everything in free agency and then criticize them for not solving everything in free agency.
Right.
And so I'm pep talking myself on that. But when you go down the list offensively and defensively and you see the additions, you see them better, but not a lot better. And I'll just start on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, they added the 2 linebackers, Tremaine Edmunds and TJ Edwards. Okay, so you asked the question, who are they replacing? Essentially, you're talking about a replacement of Roquan Smith and Nick Morrow. Probably slightly better, but not.
Well, I think more than slightly. You don't think more than slightly better?
I mean, Roquan Smith is an all-pro talent that you got rid
of. Right. I got you.
They're better than they were in the last 6 weeks of the season. But again, like for me, the Edmonds signing, which they believe is a better fit, that he's got greater length, he's got greater athleticism, he fits in Matt's defense better. But it leaves me with a wait-and-see feeling on it because I don't know what he's going to fit like in that defense, and I need to see it first. And Roquan was a difference-making homegrown talent that you cast off. And so when you reflect on who they were at the start of 2022 and who they are now, it's better, but it's not a lot better. Then, like defensive line, you've got DeMarcus Walker and Andrew Billings coming in. The names that I come up with that not necessarily direct positional fits, but Al-Quadin Muhammad and Angelo Blackson, right? Those guys are out the door. These 2 guys come in, and you just kind of go, okay, new bodies, new faces, new nameplates in the locker room at House Hall. But how much better is it really? Slightly, but probably not a lot.
Well, I mean, I guess I agree with you in some capacity there that it is slightly better. I think that that what makes me feel like it's better is just because of the newness does bring in energy that the Bears have needed, right? Like that will help with new guys coming in. But I also, everything's a wait and see at this point. And I feel like even on paper, at least we know these guys' names, they stand out a little bit more than what they had last season. I mean, I guess most of the grades that I've seen, I'm sure you've seen them too, is like, I think in Sports Illustrated, they had them moving up from like 30th to like early or low 20s, right? Like they're like 23rd, 22nd, something like that in their rankings now where the Bears are. So the league agrees that these are somewhat mediocre moves. I guess that they to me feel like it got better because they have more weapons for Justin. They've solved some issues defensively that to me gets me excited again, right? Like now you have 2 linebackers that can hopefully deliver. They didn't sign anybody who's like over 27, 28 years old. So they've somehow have that youth on their side. And that to me is encouraging.
Yeah. And like, so flipping my kind of argument over to the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to start at the lower tier and work our way up to the level of acquisitions they made. But Travis Homer, he comes in, he's a special teams guy and probably a running back 3 or 4. That's like Darrington Evans, right? Out the door goes Darrington Evans, in comes Travis Homer. PJ Walker comes here. Out goes Trevor Siemian. Okay, you're just swapping backup quarterbacks. All right, probably, about equal, if anything. Robert Tonyan comes in. I think that's an upgrade over Ryan Griffin. I think you've got a proven pass catcher. My question with Tonyan is how much of his league breakthrough and emergence a couple years ago was the byproduct of playing with a 4-time MVP as his quarterback? And can you have the same level of consistent productivity playing in an offense that hasn't been able to get the passing game going? Nate Davis, essentially, with Cody likely kicking inside to play center in the short term, Nate Davis is basically kind of your replacement for Sam Mustipher or Lucas Patrick up front. And you say, okay, new body, not necessarily a top tier, top shelf lineman in the league, but okay, we'll give him an upgrade there. Deontay Foreman comes in, kind of replaces David Montgomery, who goes across the division to Detroit. Shrugs Bills. And then DJ Moore.
You don't think that's that much of an upgrade? It's about the same.
I mean, David Montgomery was a core guy here that did everything you asked of him, was a leader in that locker room, brought the energy every day, was productive when he had his opportunities. And Deontay Foreman, I like the kid. He's got great energy. He's got a good backstory. He's hungry. He's going to come in here and give you everything you have, and you've got a low-risk dice roll on him. It's a 1-year, $3 million deal that isn't going to hamstring you in any way. And so, but I don't think that there's a market upgrade there. And then the last one that's an obvious upgrade is the DJ Moore acquisition in the trade, because that gives you that dependability piece for Justin. It gives you that receiver that as I've described him, as a tier 2 number 1. And so you add that to Justin's arsenal, and David Hall and I have talked about this in the Take the North podcast. We are trying to set up a no excuses tour for Justin Fields in 2023. The arrival of DJ Moore is a step in that direction, right? Like, let's get rid of all the excuses and then have a fair test for Justin in 2023, and then hopefully get to the end of the year and say, okay, we know a lot more about who we think this kid can be as your franchise quarterback. DJ Moore is certainly a step in the right direction there.
Are there T-shirts? The No Excuses Tour?
I've asked David to start brainstorming it.
It's not a bad idea.
He wants to go kind of, David, he wants to go a little more country themed with the musical acts that we're going to bring into the No Excuses Tour. I'm probably going to mix it up with, some hip hop and some other stuff in there just to throw it up. But yeah, there should be a No Excuses Tour. Maybe we need to wait until the Bears schedule comes out so we actually have dates and cities, right? That the No Excuses Tour will be going to.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I would like a little 90s hip hop mixed in as well. I keep going back to what you said last time we talked, that, after the trade for DJ Moore and the excitement that Bears fans had, and it was suddenly like, oh, we won, we did it. And then it was like, okay, what did we win? And I guess I get excited because new does bring in energy, and you felt like you wanted to see what a young GM who is highly respected around the league, what he was going to do in free agency. Now, I think we're also learning though that this is not where this team is gonna build sustained success. It's not in free agency. So we can get excited about these pieces that they brought in, but with everybody, I think it's wait and see. Now we turn the page and say, will they get the proper building blocks through the draft, like how they've positioned themselves for that we can start to see, okay, this is the direction this team is gonna go. And if winning is up here, they're like closer, right?
We've got a 46-hour period on the last Thursday of April through the last Saturday in April, where Ryan Poles' money will be made. And we won't know right away, right? It'll take 2, 3, maybe 4 years to figure out how good this upcoming draft class is. They currently, as we sit here today on March 22nd, they have 10 picks for that draft. I would not be surprised if Ryan moves around the board a little bit and turns that into, an 11 or 12-man class, because it gives yourself more swings depending on where your board falls and what the value is at certain points in the day 1, day 2, day 3. But you want to take as many swings as possible. Brad Biggs and I are working on a project for the Chicago Tribune, just kind of measuring batting average for the Chicago Bears in the draft, just to help people get an understanding of what's realistic. You don't expect to hit 500 in a draft. That's an anomaly. It's an outlier. You're never going to get there. You want to hit 250 if possible, right? And so we're going to go round by round and look at, several different regimes. So it's not, kind of weighed down by different sample sizes, but it will give you an idea of what's realistic in one draft and how much strides you can make in one draft. And then you understand that Ryan's vision all along is, okay, let's stack one draft on top of a second draft, add a third draft, and then hopefully we've got our wheels turning to build success for the long haul. But they've got a lot of work to do, and they're going to have to be really, really successful during that 46-hour period in late April to make sure that they add the pieces that they need. Because for me, Dionne, the one thing that leaves me just a little bit unsettled going into the draft is how deficient they are on both lines, offensively and defensively. There's just not a lot there. And so you're going to have to pour a lot of draft resources at that. You have the capability of doing that. But until I see a depth chart where the second guy at every position feels sturdy and steady to me. Don't even mention how good the starters have to be to compete in this league. You've got to build all that up, and hopefully they make strides in that direction.
I'm assuming that that's what they're doing and probably looking at as they attend Ohio State's pro day today. I think they're going to Alabama's pro day. I can't remember, but I know that they're busy looking at those positions. I think that if you really take the time, the last few GMs that we've had, well, obviously Ryan Pace, it was hard to, when you listen to him, you'd be like, I don't know that I believe what you're saying, right? And I feel like Ryan Poles is different. If you really listen to him, he's explaining what he believes will build this team into a winner. He's been more transparent, especially like on a national stage, than I thought that he would be. And I feel like he's being honest about the way he's building this team. He probably would look at what he's done in free agency and probably the same thing as you, Dan. Like it's wait and see. It's different. I had this money to spend. I feel like I did it wisely. And now we'll go into the draft. We'll make the moves we feel like are really going to make a difference. And then we'll see. And I think if you really listen to the words that come out of his mouth from the moment he got here, he stayed very consistent with that. And I think that says a lot about his passion for what he believes will build the Bears into a consistent winner.
Now that you're back on Chicago soil, I will leave. I will head to Arizona this weekend for the league meetings, and we'll hear more from Ryan Poles down there. We'll hear more from Matt Eberflus. Really the first time that we're hearing from Matt Eberflus since free agency began. So his ability to articulate the vision he has for these players that they brought in and what he sees and how he can carve out roles for each of them is an important piece in the puzzle. Obviously, we'll hear from George McCaskey and hopefully team president Kevin Warren down there as well. So next week will be an information-packed week as the Bears continue on this journey in the 2023 offseason, and it'll be important to learn. But I think you're right. I think one of the things that I've appreciated about Ryan is his ability to keep his feet on the ground. I mean, It's natural for a fan base to get over to the helium tank and take 3 or 4 good sucks off that thing and start floating above the house, right? Just feeling really good about what the team's done. Well, Ryan's got the cement on his feet that keeps him down there and says, look, like we got a long way to go. I know what the path was in Kansas City from going from last place to a Super Bowl champion. And so I think that gives him an experience that allows him to remember the patience involved, the discipline involved, the things that the steps that can't be skipped as you're on that journey. And hopefully that guides them properly here in the coming weeks.
I believe in Ian Cunningham too, for that same reason of what he saw in Philadelphia. Will they make appearances on the No Excuses tour?
Everybody's making appearances on the No Excuses tour, right? I mean, they certainly have to account for the excuses that they removed from Justin Fields' excuse list for 2023. And listen, we know Justin doesn't make any excuses at all. Right. The one thing that I come back to, and particularly talking to people around the league, is that we can have this revolving door of free agency. Out goes this guy, in comes this guy, the newness, all that stuff is there. So much of this still revolves around whether Justin Fields makes the necessary developmental leaps to be a top-tier quarterback in the NFL in 2023. And obviously they're going to support him accordingly. But man, it's still, there's so much that just hinges on his own ability to bring out his best while the people around him try to bring out his best as well.
I can't wait to be a roadie, Dan.
It'll be an interesting tour for sure. And I think we got some cool cities on the docket in 2023. So we'll keep the audience informed about where that tour is headed.
Get your tickets now. He's Dan. I'm Dionne. We'll see you next time.